Hey, would you sit down over there? That was, it's kind of nice to get a day like that where you have the type of weather that we had. We had no lightning, so we had a chance to finish practice in some wet conditions. It doesn't happen all the time. We were able to do that. I thought we got a lot done. Kind of puts those players in positions that you don't get to practice very often, but you'll probably see it sometime during the year. It was nice to have all the high school coaches out here today. Got a chance to talk to them afterwards. They added some spark to our practices, and it was sure nice to get them out here. Any questions?
With the rain that fell, is there any concern on your part moving forward about the practice fields and all of that stuff in terms of, you know, not only making it safe today, but moving forward and having good footing and all that kind of thing?
Well, I think these fields are great. You're always going to have a situation when there's a lot of rain. You're going to have some people slipping. I didn't think we had that many people slip today. I thought the conditions were pretty good. And the conditions you have to practice in. You want to put players in situations that you're going to see during the season. You don't get a chance to do it like this very often because of the lightning factor. So I thought that was a positive. Ball security, we had a few turnovers on offense. You can't do that. You know, you got to deal with the elements. So I thought that was a positive.
Mike, if there is an upside to Trent Williams and D'Angelo having minor injuries, is that Tom Compton and David Amerson are getting a lot of looks with the first team?
Yeah, it's nice, especially when you have the 90 people on your football team. There's going to be a few guys injured, but you get a chance to evaluate a lot of players, just as you mentioned. You got a couple veteran players. You know what they can do. You want to make sure they're ready for the season. You want to make sure they get in football shape and they're ready for the first game. But it's not going to set you back when these guys get a couple days of rest and you get to evaluate some of the guys you had mentioned. I think it's good.
What were some of you were talking about the high school coaches that were here today? What were some of the things that you were noticing about them coming to practice, and what did you want them to get out of it?
Well, anytime you come to a practice, you're hoping the coaches take a look at one area that they're interested in, and they might see a drill, they may see a play that they're interested in, and hopefully they can take back to their football team. I told these coaches when I started talking to them how much high school coaches influenced me in my career. One of the reasons I got into coaching. I take a look at my head coach, the offensive and defensive coordinator, my head freshman coach, guys that I've kept in contact, through 43 years, since I graduated. So, and they're still part of my life. So those type of things are important. I let them know how important they are to the future of our game. And I think they enjoyed themselves today.
Coach, earlier today, Forbath seemed to struggle during kicking exercises through the walkthrough. Any concerns, or is he okay?
Now everybody looks at the kicker. They look if it's good or bad. They don't take a look at the snap. They don't look at the hold. Kai's pretty good. Our timing's got to get better. We had a few people off today. Sometimes it was a snap. Sometimes it was a hold. Sometimes it was a kicker. But that's why you practice. I got a lot of confidence in Kai. What he did last year was short of spectacular. And hopefully he can continue to have that type of mindset and that concentration as we go through camp.
We answered this question already, and I apologize. I got here late, but with the footing situation out there today, how do you balance? You got guys like Robert and other people who are injured and trying to keep them safe, but also you want them to get used to the conditions they're going to have to play in?
Well, really, it was pretty good conditions, considering the field's not very old. A lot of times you have poor footing. I thought our footing today was fairly good, considering all the elements. So it's part of the practice plan that if you can have a day like this where it's not lightning, and you can go out there and practice for a couple hours, have guys actually practice in tough situations and still concentrate. I think it's something that helps you because it's going to happen sometime during the season.
You didn't consider backing off on their reps at all?
No, in fact, it was just the opposite. I wanted to practice more because they got to handle those situations. Like you mentioned, when you do have a guy like Robert or a number of people that have ACL injuries or serious injuries, they got to be a little bit more careful. They got to slow down their stride. But that's one of the reasons why Robert's not in a team situation where he's got to take off very quickly, because that could obviously hurt somebody.
Hey, Mike, Mike, you guys have talked about over here. You guys have talked about how excited you are for Brian Arakpo to return to the defense. Given how many big plays Rob Jackson made in that role last year, how big a difference is there between those two guys?
We'll find out. You want football players. I think Rob Jackson proved himself last year that he can play and make plays. I think the more he played, the better off he got. Just like I said about Rack, I think he's going to have a great year. He looks like he's possessing the football field. He looks like he's quicker. You can tell he's excited to play. But we'll find out through the season how they both play. But I think they'll both play well.
Mike, even before today, it looked as if the field was getting a bit of wear and tear. Have you considered shuffling your practice accordingly or using the other field more? Do you have a concern about the state of the field?
Yeah, that's what we usually do. We'll rotate it. 1 week we'll go on one field, the next week we'll go on the other, especially if a field's getting tore up. After a day like this, a little bit tougher on the fields. And hopefully we don't have too many days like that where you just tear the fields apart. But I do like the shape they're in, considering they were only put in a short time ago.
Mike, I know you mention all the time it's hard to get a read on safeties, especially early in training camp without the preseason games. But do you have any idea where you think Rambo and Thomas stand at this point a week in?
Well, just as like you mentioned, it's the start. You know, we're going to have these guys all playing game-type situations. As they play in game-type situations, we'll get a better chance to evaluate them over the course of the preseason. But that's why you practice to give them a chance once they do get in these game situations to show what they can do. See if they can make plays, see if they can eliminate mistakes. How do they play when the lights are on? So that's the fun part once we start those preseason games.
Mike, I want to ask you about two guys that kind of been overshadowed since you've been here. Perry Riley, we got 3 other Pro Bowl linebackers, and you got Perry, and then Josh Morgan, who, you know, Pierre got a lot of the ink last year. Talk about the two of them and their development. I know Josh has the screws out. You see both of them taking a jump this year?
Well, Perry Riley, if you really studied Perry Riley on film and you just looked at him, you'd say, boy, this is one of the fastest linebackers in the league. Very physical. I expect Perry to have an excellent year this year. Josh Morgan, as you mentioned, he's coming off playing with a lot of injuries. He played with a lot of pain last year. He's looking better. He's a lot more comfortable coming out of his cuts. And hopefully he shows what he can do during the preseason.
Coach, with potential inclement weather coming tomorrow or in the future, what's your contingency?
I'm sorry.
With inclement weather potentially tomorrow, I'm just wondering if you had a contingency plan if there is lightning and you're unable to practice outside.
Yeah, we have a facility we can go through. It'll be more of a walkthrough stage, but you can still get a lot done. If we start getting consistent rain in the afternoon, we'll move up our afternoon practices in the morning and walk through in the afternoon. But we'll wait and see. I kind of like today. I thought it helped us with our practice. I wouldn't mind a couple practices like this, but you just don't want 10 in a row.
Mike, Robert did seem to get a few more snaps today. Did you consider that a meaningful increase, and where do you feel like he is right now?
Yeah, our first, our plan initially was to give him our first 3 days. We gave him 8 reps. On 7-on-7, the next 3 days we gave him 10. Today he had 16 or 17. We'll continue that for about a week. So we got a plan if there is no setback. If there is a setback, then obviously we alter the plan. But we do have a plan to try to get him ready. And right now we've stayed with the plan.
Can we get an update on Maurice Hurt? Any timetable on him getting off the PUP list?
I really can't give you a timetable except, Ray Wright, who's working him out over there, and our trainers say he's making a lot of progress. Will it be 3 days? Will it be a week? Will it be 2 weeks? I can't tell you for sure, but we got to get him in football shape. And anytime you have surgery, you don't want to push that knee too hard until he's ready to play. But we've got a lot of players. We have some depth. We've watched him play over the last couple of years, so we know what he can do. So I want to make sure that he's healthy before we put him in any game-type situation.
Mike, a number of guys you held out today: Garcon, Arakpo, Jordan Reed. Were these typical days off, or was something wrong with these guys?
I was going to let Fred go off first because he's coming off the Achilles, and I told him he could take off today or tomorrow. He wanted to play today, so I kept Jordan Reed off. Jordan didn't go through the OTAs. He's been playing very hard. He's got a few blisters on his feet. I just thought it was best with the way he's been practicing to shut him down for a day. And we'll do that with Fred tomorrow. So we got a game plan with some of these guys that have worked extremely hard to get back in good shape. And you go 3-4 days in a row, you see a little bit of wear and tear. We just want to back off for a day and then hit them hard.
Mike, curious with the increased workload for Robert today, as he goes along and gets more reps, do you see him getting stronger, or do you see the rehab, maybe he's not able to keep up as much as, say, earlier in a session?
Well, we talked about, patience to start off with. Anytime we go through drill work, we evaluate our people during drill work, not just Robert, but a number of our players. Merriweather, for example, we curtailed his workload back. Chris Thompson, we curtailed his work back some. And, that's part of the process of looking at players. With Robert, we haven't curtailed anything back. But we got a plan, a patient plan to get him ready. And so far, we've been able to stay with that plan.
Mike, Kirk Cousins is, and as we saw from the 4 games he played last year, he's a change of pace from Robert. Obviously, he's not the same style. Is that, I guess, what are the pros and cons of that, of having, if you do have to go to the backup guy, he has a different style? Does that, I know you have to tweak the offense, but also the defense has to react to someone different. Just wondering how that dynamic, how you think through that dynamic.
We've run our offense with a lot of number of quarterbacks. And you want quarterbacks that can execute, quarterbacks that can step up and execute your game plan. And Kirk has proven when he's had his opportunities, he has stepped up and played extremely well. Obviously, Robert has done as well. And, we're dealing with the situation now of evaluating a lot of players, not only at the quarterback position, with Rex, with Pat, and you're just hoping that guys, once they get the opportunity to play in a live situation, that they impress you. And Kirk impressed us and everybody last year when he did do what he did in the Cleveland game and the Baltimore game, and he's getting some valuable, practice reps right now.
Hey, Coach, D'Angelo's out of his boot today. Any update on him?
No, he's just not ready to go yet, and this will be day by day, and I don't think it'll be too long, at least according to our trainer. You never know for sure with those ankles, but D. Hall is, very tough-minded. And he'll get back as soon as he can. But like I think was mentioned before, it's kind of nice to evaluate some of these younger players in team situation that normally you can't when your veteran player is healthy. Anybody else? Okay, thanks.